What's up, guys? Welcome to week 8 of the Brochure List. I'm your host, Andre Brown, and this week we have a special guest. Joel Moran from the Pick a Side podcast came and joined us to talk about some draft-related stuff. We talk wide receivers, cornerbacks, safeties, and then even some stuff just going on in the NFL. So really fun to get some other opinions on the show, and such a great show and host and Pick a Side and Joel. So thanks a lot, Joel, for coming on, and hope you guys enjoy. I started following you guys through like TikTok. That's how I know like Pick a Side for the most part. And I was in Caddy's Cut-Ups one day, and I saw like the little Pick a Side logo in there. I was like, oh wait, I recognize that logo for sure. And I like went like hovered over. I was like, who's in here? Who's in here studying for sure? So then that's when I was like, okay, because I like talking football with people, but I enjoy it more like with people that he's actually doing the legwork for sure. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna reach out to him because that's fire. So Pick a Side. I haven't been around since the inception though. So and Pick a Side, you guys are on episode like 100 and something. I usually mostly tune in for the football conversation, not so much the basketball stuff because I can't hold my own there. But I don't know, like how'd that all get started? And I mean, how long have you guys been going now?
It all got started through Twitter about like 2 years ago. I was debating with Riv, Steph Curry versus James Harden. And we used to debate it like every day, but for some reason this day was like the breaking point. And I was like, bro, let's just do this on a podcast. That's it. And we used to have a lot of interaction. We used to have a lot of people, replying back and liking our stuff even back then, when we would get in these debates. So we kind of made the podcast something for people to anticipate for. So we went to a studio in New York. We live in North Jersey, so we went to a studio in New York, like a WeWork space. We recorded our first episode, and the topics on there are everything that we kind of organically debated, from Curry versus James Harden. Back then, Carson Wentz versus Dak Prescott was a huge debate, so we debated that as well. It was very fun, but that's how everything got started.
Okay, so when you guys record now, are you in like a studio, or are you in someone's house, or where's that like area that you guys are recording in all the time?
Yeah, that's my house. That's my basement.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice. You guys got a nice little setup, and you guys have some like people. I mean, you have like a more consistent group sometimes, like you and I can't remember everyone's name because you guys kind of have some people like rotate in. But no, that's really cool, and that's kind of like why this came about for us. Mostly because we argue a lot, but we never had receipts of like the shit people said to each other, and we wanted something to go back to when someone tried. Because people get like a little bit of selective memory, when you start arguing with people.
Yeah, for sure, that happens all the time.
But I know that you guys have talked about some of this stuff, but I kind of like want to, go back and forth a little bit with you about it and hear your thoughts on some of the stuff that's happened in the past, maybe, I don't know, week or two. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about the big moves going on in the AFC West. So I kind of wanted to go because I think that, I don't know, I think that some people might have some differing opinions on this, and that's I don't know, how would you power rank the NFC West as it stands today after, like, I guess the dust is somewhat settling? There might still be a few like smaller signings, but way too early ranking of what's gone on over there.
You said the NFC West or AFC?
Or AFC West, sorry.
Okay, so number one, I have the LA Chargers. I believe in Justin Herbert. I think he's more than just a stats guy. I know because they didn't make the playoffs, people try to get on him for that, but he's an elite quarterback. Number two, the Raiders. I think getting Devontae Adams was huge. I have some worries about how the fit with Derek Carr is going to be, just because naturally you're going to drop off playing with Aaron Rodgers from Derek Carr. But then again, the Raiders now have a surplus of weapons in Renfro and Waller, so that might be easier for him. The Chiefs are 3 for me because I feel like they have one of the worst defensive lines in football. They have one of the worst secondaries in football. They just lost Charvarius Ward. Their offense can only carry them so much. I think the defense, last year it started off as one of the worst in the NFL. I think we can potentially see that this upcoming season. They lost Jaron Reed. Derek Nottie, Melvin Ingram might not come back. Frank Clark is one of the more inconsistent players in the NFL. And number 4 is the Denver Broncos. I know they got Russell Wilson, and everybody is super excited about that. But you look at the offense they have. Their offense isn't as good as the Chiefs. Their offense isn't as good as the Raiders. Their offense isn't as good as the Chargers. They have the 3rd best quarterback in that division. Derek Carr's last. And you look at the defense they have. Let me put on Do Not Disturb, my fault. You look at the defense they have. Vic Fangio was a big reason why they were successful. They don't have linebackers. Their defensive line is the worst in the division. Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb, nobody's scared of that. And their corners, you're losing Bryce Callahan. He might not come back. You're losing Kyle Fuller, and then Kareem Jackson might not sign back. I think the Broncos are a what-if team, and everybody's placing them in Super Bowl contention because they got Russell Wilson. But when's the last time we said the Seahawks were Super Bowl contenders? It's been a long time. It's been since the Legion of Boom. Russell Wilson didn't save them then. He's not coming to save the Broncos now.
Wow, that's a pretty hot take. So we were talking about.
I don't know why it's so hot. I don't know why it's so hot.
So I don't actually dislike the Chiefs at 3. I actually like that a lot.
Yeah, I don't dislike that.
We just gonna forget about Chris Jones. You talked about the defensive line.
Max Crosby and Chandler Jones.
Yeah. I think that, so, I don't know. Maybe,
Chandler Jones.
On the Raiders.
The Raiders.
He washed. He didn't do shit last year.
Come on. After that 5 sacks, he didn't do anything.
Over Chris Jones, bro.
What Chris Jones do last year?
Nah, he was great.
A little bit more.
He was great.
Chris Jones
a
was
little
hurt.
bit more.
But Max Crosby, I think just
Max Crosby a dog.
that
He from
duo,
Eastern Michigan.
That duo.
He from right down the street from
better.
us.
That duo, I think, is just better.
Yeah, I would take that duo for sure.
I think the Chiefs had, so relative to what you're supposed to, so you have teams like, we're Lions fans, or some of, not Tay, but me, Dabs, and Toon, we're Lions fans. So we have maybe an underwhelming free agency relative to the rest of the league, but it's like kind of par for the rebuild. You didn't want to overspend on certain contracts. Where you have a team like the Chiefs, who everyone in their division is stacking up and grabbing these pieces, and you're like doing nothing. You sign Juju Smith-Schuster, and I was in like a chat the other day, and everyone's like, "W signing." I was like, offense is not the concern for me. Like, this is not you. Everyone in your division, everyone in your division is signing all these DNs. They're have young DNs coming back from injury. It would be Bradley Chubb, whatever. You have issues with your tackle position. You don't know what Frank Clark's doing. Obviously, you have Chris Jones. You, like you said, lost Charvarius Ward. I think they didn't bring Mike Hughes back either. So like, you're losing all these pieces on your defense. And
to lose Matthew too.
Like, we've seen that you guys can't keep like sustaining this offensive success like indefinitely. So I really
Can they tag Matthew? Can they franchise tag him?
The window's
I mean, they're
gone.
done. Justin Reed is the replacement for Matthew.
He's the replacement,
and he's a great player.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He's not bad.
Like, he's a great player, but he's not Tyrann Mathieu.
He's not.
Justin Reed is he from the Texans?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's not bad. Okay.
Yeah, he's not bad, but he's not Tyrann. Yeah. I mean, when that, like, you know that, like, the defense, like, in the first couple weeks was like really bad. Like, they just gonna keep Dan Sorensen. They just gonna keep him back there getting cooked.
Bald-headed Dan. Yep. Yes, sir.
Bad man, Dan the man. Huh?
That man packs his lunch pail like the rest of them. I'll tell you what.
Come on. When that defense was that bad, the Honey Badger was literally the only reason keeping them in games. So like, I feel like that's a big loss. But you know that they signed Justin Reed. So I mean, I think that makes up for it, but not to the extent of losing, man.
And don't forget about fucking Coach Andy Reid. Please don't forget who got the best coach in that division.
So Toon is kind of like a Lions fan, but he went to Kansas City.
I am a Lions fan. But when it comes to the AFC, I'll roll with the Chiefs because I live there. Yeah. That's the only reason.
So, Joe, I just got to disagree with you heavily with the Broncos being the last. I was smiling over here, and everybody was looking at me because they knew that
Wait. Ask him what do you think about the wide receiving core.
Yeah. Just ask him. Particular one receiver.
What you think about their receiving core, Joel?
I mean, I think it's overrated. For one, like, Courtland Sutton is a great receiver. He's a 1K receiver, but he's the worst receiver in that division. Keenan Allen is better. Devontae Adams is better. Tyreek Hill is better. He's a low end number one receiver. And this hope you guys have for Jerry Jeudy that he's some superstar, I hope that it actually happens, because you guys, Broncos fans, talk the most shit about how Jerry Jeudy is so great. Oh, my God, it's the quarterback play. Look how much yards per separation he gets. And they use all these advanced analytics to show that he's so great. He had like 400 yards last year. I'm not trying to hear
next gen stats for him.
I'm not a huge Jeudy guy, but I will say I'd be happy with him. I mean, at the current state of the Broncos, he's their wide receiver 3, possibly 4. Like I'd be happy with that, because I like Cortland. I think he.
Tim Patrick too.
Yeah, you have Tim. They signed him. Like if you have Cortland as your one and a decent, yes, that's. If you have, and then you have KJ Hamler too, and you have Albert O. So I think like as a core, I feel like their wide receiving core is like enough that you could like ask for. I mean, we've seen. I feel like other wide receiving cores like. I feel like we're seeing teams win by having groups as opposed to stars at that position, but.
You're not wrong,
Patriots,
but this is the thing, and maybe Jeudy does have a breakout season. Nathaniel Hackett's offense coming from Green Bay, he likes to isolate the number one receiver. So if Jeudy is that number one guy, then he can have a big-time year. But I don't know if it's going to be him or Sutton. I don't know who's going to have that role. But like you said, groups of receivers win. The problem is that the Broncos have a group of receivers. They have depth, but they don't have stars. You look at the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill, I count Kelsey as a receiver because, I mean, this guy almost goes for 1,000 yards every year. And Juju, when healthy, playing with Mahomes, like, they have stars. The Chargers have stars. The Raiders now, they really have stars. And look at the AFC. You look at the Bengals. They have stars. T. Higgins can be a number one on half the teams in the NFL. So can Tyler. So can Tyler Boyd. And then you have the Bills, who they got Stephon Diggs. They just got Jamison Crowder, who I think is an underrated pickup. He's going to be a huge slot guy for them to replace Cole Beasley. And Gabe Davis, he had 200 yards in a playoff game. Like, people are sleeping on the Gabe Davis breakout, but that's for another day.
I think they're liable also. I mean, because they're one of those teams, like, they have, like, such a complete roster, but they're missing, like, those players to put them over the hump, maybe. I mean, they have them, like, arguably, like, you know, they came close to making it to the AFC Championship. Obviously could have won. It's you know, football's it's not a round ball, so, you know, things bounce weird. But they could be in the prime position to, like, take one of these guys in the first or second round, obviously, to, like, push them over the hump. But I feel like, I don't know, man. I like Russ, and like he's not the top 3 Russ that he has been, but he's still top 6, top 7. Like,
is that O-line much better than the Seahawks O-line? Is it that much better? Because I know that was the gripe everyone had with him being in Seattle.
I think
they're like, oh, he has no protection. Is this a lot better situation for him?
I think it's a bit better. When talking about the Broncos and the offensive line, I do think that Russell Wilson makes his offensive line worse because he runs into sacks when he's extending plays. He kind of creates sacks for himself sometimes. And there's graphs that show that the Seahawks, statistically, the offensive line gets worse, mostly due to Russ. And that may be the case in Denver, but I don't know why there's so much optimism around Russell Wilson, because he's been 1-3 in the playoffs since 2018. The only real success he's ever had in the playoffs has been when the Legion of Boom was still formed. And one of the years they went to the Super Bowl in 2015, he threw 4 interceptions in an NFC Championship game. So during the Legion of Boom years, he wasn't a great, quote-unquote, great top 5 quarterback. Then when he became that, he's never had playoff success. And we're talking about a conference now that he's not a top 5 quarterback by no stretch of the imagination. Mahomes and Allen are better.
You don't think he's top 5 in the AFC?
No, Justin Herbert is better. Russell Wilson is better.
So I agree with Herbert. I agree with Patrick. I agree with what will be Josh Allen and Deshaun. I think at that point, he's right there, 5, 6. I think he's better than Burrow still. I'm not like. I think he's still better than Burrow. I'm not a Burrow. I like Burrow, but I'm not like the Burrow's better than Herbert. Like, I'm not one of those guys. Like, I think 5, 6 makes sense though. Yeah,
I was thinking about like this earlier. I think like a rightful like evaluation, especially like a young quarterback, is like, and I think is like the 3rd year. Like, first year you just learning the league. Like that's your rookie year. So like you got if you go into a bad situation like Joe Burrow going to the Bengals, like yes, he's the cornerstone of your franchise, but it's other holes to fill. So like they got the franchise has to do their due diligence in making sure that they build around him for years to come. So first year, I don't really count that. It's just what are we going to see? What are we? That's more potential. Second year, you learn from the first year to see how far have you grown and are you learning from the mistakes that you made your first year. I think that's a more fair evaluation, but I still don't count that. I look at the third year because it's like, okay, you got to put all the pieces together. You got to actually show the franchise something if they want to keep moving, if they want to keep going with you or move on from you. And we see that with Baker. I mean, like Baker had his third year and they just chopped him off, and now his future is just out is in question. So I mean, like I really look at the third year, and that's what I'll probably be looking at for Joe Burrow to see like, and I got confidence that he'll continue to be elite, but. In regards of though, like we were talking about like the top AFC quarterbacks, I would have him like around like I would probably have him like six or seven because it's a lot of AFC elite quarterbacks. But I'm just not after that one season. I'm just not gonna just he is above everybody because of that one season.
So branching off of what Tay said, I just can't believe the disrespect that's going on with Dangerous. This is unbelievable. It's been like eating at me. I don't know if y'all see me over here. But the craziest thing, because I just want to say that Dangerous is an established quarterback in the NFL.
Dangerous.
Now, a lot of the different things that's going on with the Seahawks was not his fault. I'm not going to sit here and say that. His injuries, that's his fault. That's a direct correlation to him. But Pete Carroll is senile to a certain, I feel like. Certain ways they ran the offense in that whole system, I didn't like. Dangerous he's an elite deep throw accuracy quarterback. The wide receiver core that they have over there in the Broncos really tailors to that. So that's why I think is a great fit for them. That's why I have them number one over there at the AFC West as a sleeper team. I mean, just because Dangerous plus the wide receiver core, I know they're young. They still have to establish themselves. I feel like Judy. But at the same time, you got to realize who they was playing quarterback with. I mean, they were doing good in the beginning of the season with Teddy. Before that, it was Drew Lock. Before that, like, they didn't have a real elite quarterback like all these other receiver cores that you're talking about had. Like even Devontae Adams, right? So seeing them being able to do stuff like that with Dangerous, I'm guessing it's going to be a breakout season for a lot of those wide receivers. KJ Hamler, right? Shout out to my mans. I grew up with him, all that stuff. So he's coming off ACL injury and all that. But he's a deep threat guy. And having Dangerous over there, I seen him in the video the other day, smiling cheek to cheek. The reason why is because he got Dangerous. So I'm rooting for them boys over there. I might be a little biased, but yeah, 4. That's crazy. 4. I would put the Raiders. I gotta put at 4. Kansas City, I'll put at 3, and then above them the Chargers.
You gonna put them at 4 and they made the playoffs? And they
Absolutely, I don't believe in Derek Carr. Sorry, I don't believe in Derek Carr.
All right, so if you have the Broncos a little bit higher than Raiders, okay, that's all fine. I think we can all agree that Russ is, if he's the 5th best quarterback in the AFC. He's not a top 4 quarterback in the AFC. Given that information, the Broncos don't even have a top 5 roster in the AFC. The Chiefs have a better roster than them. The Chargers have a better roster.
Do they though?
The Browns have
now.
So let's just
because we just cut up the Chiefs. Like
okay. Let me give you guys givens. The Bills have a better roster. That's a given. I think the Colts have a better roster top to bottom. They don't have those receivers, but they had the most Pro Bowlers in the NFL last season. They have a better roster. The Bengals, I think the roster is better than theirs, and they improved the offensive line. You look at the Chargers top to bottom, their roster is better. So Russ is walking into a situation where he doesn't have a by far better roster than most of the teams in the AFC. Because when Matthew Stafford got traded to the Rams, you automatically said they have the best roster in the NFC. They just need a quarterback. The Broncos, they're not just a quarterback away. They're a couple pieces on the offensive line away. They're a couple pieces on the defensive line and secondary away. And they're a couple pieces on the linebackers away. And their coach, he's unproven. And so there's so many ifs going on with the Broncos. You know, listen, I'm happy that you have so much optimism for the Broncos. I don't even think Russell Wilson's the best Wilson in the AFC. That's my boy Zach.
What?
That's my boy Zach.
Hell no.
That's a hot take.
My
for
boy
sure.
Zach.
Zach?
My boy Zach is the truth.
We gon'
Cut that.
another day.
I will
Another
say
day.
that I agree with Dabs in that it's not even because we can look at rosters all day long, right? But rosters don't win championships, and they, like star players help you get there. But if I look back at the Chiefs roster, like it's composed of like 4 stars and whatever else they can afford with the $100 million in cap that Travis Mahomes and Tyreek and them take up. But
Clyde.
I think that the biggest convincing thing for me for Denver is that they were competitive with their division rivals. So like with the Chargers, with the Chiefs, with Teddy Two Gloves back there doing 5-yard checkdowns all last season.
Teddy
And
Bridgewater's not bad though.
Oh,
we
Teddy.
give him this so much. We give him so.
He's
much
not
slack.
good. He's bottom.
He's not good.
If
He's
he
definitely
when he
good.
is starting, he's bottom.
He's a bridge
He's
quarterback.
like 20 to 30, and you jump from 20 to 30 to a top 10 guy. I mean,
He like Tyrod 2.0.
yeah, that
He's better than Tyrod. He's better than Tyrod.
That ain't saying much though.
I think Tyrod is underrated, frankly, but I think Teddy Bridgewater gets a lot of slack because he doesn't have the most flashy games. He does check down a lot, that's for sure. But he went to Carolina. He won them games. He left. They got worse when he left. I'm not saying the Broncos are going to get worse, but he took
Elite?
the thing about
Come
Teddy
on,
is that he's not going to win you games, but he's not going to lose you games. Because you guys had the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL, he wasn't losing you games. I'm not saying Russ is going to lose you games, but Teddy Bridgewater was a stable quarterback. And
So,
he
yeah,
but
wasn't
you can-
your
You
problem.
you can't win a
but you-
championship with a stable quarterback.
You're not going to win one, but Russ hasn't won one since the Legion of Boom.
But
He's
per
been in the
your-
playoffs.
So who?
per your statement, you said that that Teddy was winning games because he wasn't losing them games, but he was winning them games because they had the number 1 defense in the NFL. You don't think that? So they add to that defense.
They
and
haven't
then
added to
you-
the defense.
I mean, you get Randy Gregory, and
You
I
lose
think
Von Miller.
they didn't have him most of the season last year, though, did they? Anyway, because he got hurt and
He
then he got
played for
traded.
he
I
played
think
for
he was
half the
injured.
year, and then he got traded. You don't have.
And then
Bryce
they didn't have
Callahan
Bradley
no more.
Chubb. They didn't have Bradley Chubb
They
most
didn't
of
have
last
Bradley.
year.
You're right.
I think they're going to end up getting B-Wag, to be honest, for whatever addition you think that is. It's better than what they
Oh
have.
yeah, for sure.
But I think, like, if you say that they had, even if they, let's say they aren't even number 1, they drop from like 1 to like 6, 7, right? But then you insert a quarterback who can elevate their offense from, bottom 10 to like even middle to upper half of the pack. You don't think that moves the needle for them at all?
I don't think that's going to be the drop off. I think they're going to have a significant drop off on defense. I don't think they're going from 1st to 6th. I think they're going from 1st to 15th to 18th in the league in defense. And the reason why is because their defense was heavily overrated last season. You look at PFF and their defensive grades, and I know advanced stats aren't everything, but you look at their advanced stats and how PFF had the defenses graded. The Seahawks were actually the 16th graded defense in the NFL. The Broncos were the 26th. And they didn't face any great offenses. They faced the Chiefs twice, the Chargers twice because that's in their division. Those are great offenses. They faced Dallas and they faced Cincinnati. The rest of their schedule was very easy. They didn't face good offenses or good quarterbacks. Because of that, I think their defense is going to drop off significantly, and they don't have Vic Fangio. People are underplaying the Vic Fangio loss way too much. He is one of the pioneers of how NFL defenses and coaches play defense now. And he's not going to be scheming up these blitzes and different types of coverages in cover 3 to help mask their problems. That's a huge loss.
I mean, when you look at the AFC West, though, how do you, let's say defense, let's rank defense, they're number 2 in defense off just roster alone. I feel like the Raiders aren't as better on defense as the Broncos from on paper, at least. They have one of the best safeties in the league. They have Patrick Surtain, right? They have Randy Gregory. He's an established pass rusher. I know that it's like he's not like elite I guess, but he can't play at an elite level. Bradley Chubb was elite now with the injury and everything like that, but still on paper, they're number 2 behind the Chargers. The Raiders defense, I'm not too sure of, and definitely not the Chiefs, right? So in that division, you have the second best defense, and then arguably a roster. It's all on paper because the whole roster's on paper right now. We haven't seen them play all together, but offensively, you have a star-studded wide receiver core with Dangerous. So like on paper, it looks good. Now I do understand that you're saying like off paper, it could be some issues, but right now I just see them number 2 in defense, and then offense at least number 2.
Well, you're right. On paper, your defense is definitely behind the Chargers. I agree with you that Chargers should be number 1 if we're talking about on paper. Offensively, I don't think you're number 2. I think the Chiefs, I'm taking Mahomes in that offense over your offense. I'm taking Justin Herbert with Mike Will and Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler and one of the best offensive lines over the Broncos offense. And the Raiders just got Devontae Adams. They have a top 2 wide receiver in the NFL with Darren Waller, who's at his best. When he's at his best, minimum of top 3 tight end with Renfro, who's one of the better slots. On top of that, they have Josh Jacobs, who's an established running back, and Kenyon Drake, a receiving back. You guys have the 4th offense in that division. And talking about defense, like you're naming me guys who I can't really count on. Justin Simmons is the only one that I'm sure for sure he's a great player. Pat Surtain is a rising player. But you're going to be counting on him to take a big-time second-year leap into, like, elite status for you to really be where you want to be defensively. And I don't know if he's ready to take that step right away. The Raiders got better defensively, too. They added Chandler Jones. They added Rock Ya-Sin, who's a starting corner from Indianapolis. So now their defense looks a lot better than it did last season.
I want to. So I'm gonna scoot past this because I don't want this to be the Denver Broncos show. And I know I'm sure you like argue this to exhaustion because I know your co-host over there loves the Broncos to death too. So I'm sure you're trying to talk about. But when you said Devontae Adams, you said at least the top 2. Is there someone you think competes with Devontae for that number 1 spot?
I mean, you have like it's just Cooper Kupp really. And I'm not the biggest Cooper Kupp fan. I'm not the biggest Cooper Kupp fan. I
believe you. I believe you, man. I'm with you on that one. Me and you agree with that one.
But he just had the best receiving season of all time. I have to put him number 1 for now.
I don't think that puts him over Devontae, though. Devontae has been consistently, for the past 3 years, definitively, 1v1, mano y mano, no zone, anything. Just press me, come up, play man-to-man. He has definitively been the best. And even playing in zones and finding those open holes to make space, I mean, he has been definitively, the last 3 years, the best receiver in the league. I know Cooper Kupp had the Triple Crown, but I don't think that elevates him to top 2. Top 5, I give you that. But top 2, I don't know. I can't really give him that right now. Top 5, I'll give him.
Based off the season he had, he has to be top 3. Like, just based off that season alone, he has to be top 3. But going into next season, I think Jamar Chase is going to have another great big-time year. I think I'd put – like, if I were starting a team today, I wouldn't take Cooper Kupp top 4. I'm going with Jamar Chase. I'm going with Debo over him. I'm going with Devontae, and I'm going with Justin Jefferson over him. So I'm going with more guys over Cooper Kupp, but based off his production, I can't – just overlook Cooper Kupp, but you're right. And if you think Devontae Adams is the best receiver in the league, that's just a better case for why the Raiders are a better offense than the Broncos.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of unproven with the Broncos, too. I mean, like, yeah, you said dangerous Dabs, but I mean, like, Cortland, he had like one. Hold on. Cortland had 1 Pro Bowl year, right? And then after that with the offense, it's a lot of unknown. You got Jerry Jeudy, who, you know, you were hoping to have, like, you know, a breakout, to be like this breakout star for you, but he's been hampered by injuries. KJ Hamler's been hampered by injuries. You lost Noah Fant. I know I can't pronounce his last name to save my life.
Say Albert O.
I know Albert. They got Albert O, and they're looking for him to replace him. But and again, another unknown. You got Javonte Williams. I love Javonte too. But it's 1 year. It's a lot unknown. We've seen people drop off from year 1 to year 2. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I get where he's coming from, where it's just like, it's kind of like a lot unknown. If you look at the other offenses that are kind of already, not even kind of, they're already established with star veterans. I see his point in why he would have the Broncos at 4, because it's just a lot of unknown. It looked good on paper. and a new coach. It looked good on paper, but it's just a lot unknown.
There's two sides to the Broncos right now. There's people who are low on them, like me, that are in the minority. And there's people who are high on them because they got Russell Wilson, and they're the majority right now. The reason why most people are high on the Broncos is, one, because of Russell Wilson. And Broncos fans specifically are high on their team because they feel like for years they have just been a quarterback away. But in an AFC that has just loaded up on talent, that's not good enough. Like Russ in 2020, he started off the season great. At an MVP level, there was this whole slogan, let Russ cook. Then in the second half of the season, everybody wants to blame the Seahawks, but Russ was the one who started giving his input more on the offense, and then it started to stall. And then he finished off that year completing less than 60% of his passes in a playoff game versus the Rams and losing to an injured Jared Goff. Like, Russell Wilson is not this instant, like, he'll get you to the playoffs for sure, but he doesn't take you past those first 2 rounds. At least in the past 7 years, he hasn't.
I just feel like Russ's team in general. I mean, even when he was cooking, like his offensive line is an upgrade, receiving core is an upgrade. I just feel like it's. So? I gotta give. I believe so.
DK and
yeah. I will say all the way around they have more weapons on the Broncos than it is on the Seahawks. DK in general. I remember that game that DK was getting locked up, but
DK is better than any receiver on the Broncos right now.
Yeah, better. I'm taking DK. You smoking?
I'm just saying that the reason why you're saying that, right, is because you can see the Broncos' production with a very C-tier quarterback. That's what I gotta explain. Just because it's a C-tier quarterback that they have to play with. Danger Russ upgrades that whole entire offense from the jump. They raw receiving core before all these trades happened was probably number 2, I will say, in that division. But Danger Russ he's an elite quarterback. He's a proven quarterback. It's got to be an upgrade. It can't be just stay stagnant because it's not equal to Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock. Got to show some respect to Russ.
Yeah, it's a bloodbath. It's gonna be a bloodbath for sure, for sure.
Yeah, it's bad over there. That's the only other thing I was worried about because I play defensive line. Like I see that shit over there, I'm like, God, I don't know who gonna block these boys. Like I really don't. But good luck to them boys.
This is gonna be a bloodbath.
So you're a Jets fan. How do you feel about the future of the Jets, man?
I feel great. I feel amazing.
We're Lions. Like, or 3 of us are Lions fans. So like we've been in this same like bottom of the barrel. Like, how do you feel about the Jets, man?
First of all, we're not the same. Jets and Lions are not the same.
Wow.
We're not.
At least
the
y'all
same.
got a Super Bowl.
We made 2 AFC championships in 2009 and 2010. I don't know when's the last time y'all won a playoff game. We talking about
I
will say, at least you guys found a quarterback, though, Matthew Stafford. We just found ours in Zach Wilson. Sometimes it takes time, but we found ours now. I'm happy about what the Jets are doing. I think our off-season moves have been great. DJ Reed is a really good corner who's coming from Seattle. Physical. He's really good in the run game. Jordan Whitehead as well. He's a really good tackler. He's good in run support as well. Laken Tomlinson, getting him was huge. He's going to solidify our offensive line. We already had a top 13 offensive line this past season. So now getting Laken Tomlinson, I think we can go to top 10. I don't know if we draft one. That's a wait and see. And we have 2 in the top 10. We have the 4th overall pick and the 10th overall pick.
You want to trade with us? You want to trade? We'll give you a second.
Good.
And we'll take
both
of
the
seconds.
We'll give you a second.
Come on. Call who you need to call. Call who you need to call.
But in all seriousness, and also the Jets got 2 tight ends. Like last year, for the past 10 years, we've had no tight end production. Our last good tight end was Dustin Keller when we made those playoff appearances. We got C.J. Uzomah, who was the heart and soul of the Bengals as a leader, also had 500 yards receiving. Then we got Tyler Conklin from the Vikings, who also had 500 yards receiving.
Fire up chips. I was cool with them. That's my dog.
We have 2 certified tight ends who are going to help in the run game and run blocking as well as pass catching. I'm still upset we haven't gotten a receiver. I think we're waiting on the draft. But Elijah Moore, when he was matched up against Xavier Howard and these other great corners, he did his thing against Trey White, Xavier Howard. Yeah, like he did his thing. So I have faith in Elijah Moore. But I don't know if this year's going to be a breakout year for Zach. I think he's going to improve. He's going to improve for sure this year. I think the Jets are going to be better than people expect. I made this take on TikTok the other day. Everybody kept on mentioning me and making fun of it. But we're going to be in the hunt for the playoffs. Like, we might be eliminated by, like, week 16, 17 from the race,
AFC?
but we're definitely going to be in the hunt. By like week 13, you're going to see the Jets is going to say in the hunt, and we're going to be right there with those teams.
So let's go down the list of who's going to make it, right? We're going to have, let's just say 2 teams from the AFC West. We won't give
I'll give you all 4.
Right.
I'll give you all 4. All 4 will make it.
So you're winning. You're winning the AFC North.
No. So here's what I'm saying. All 4 teams from the AFC West, I think they'll make the playoffs.
That's possible, you think?
The Bills,
Hell
that's
no.
5. We're not gonna surpass the Bills.
Oh, so you don't think you're gonna make it? You think you're just gonna be right there?
Yeah, I think we're going to be in the hunt for it. I am kind of upset that the Dolphins just got Teron Armstead. That was a big time signing in our division, but I feel like we are going to be in the hunt because Zach Wilson is the second best quarterback in our division. He's better than Mac Jones. I know Mac Jones had a better rookie year.
I agree.
Josh McDaniels is leaving. That's going to be huge for him. And Tua, come on. How many people are really believers in Tua? Like, we know what this guy is.
People love Tua. People love Tua for some reason.
He's a limited quarterback. He's Jimmy Garoppolo. We know what he is. Because of that, I think Zach is going to take a pretty big leap. Not like he's going to be a Pro Bowl quarterback, but you're going to see next year a bunch of Jets highlights, and they're like, man, Zach Wilson did that? This guy is special. That's what you're going to say next year about Zach.
Hey, the Lions play the Jets this year. I'm just saying. I don't know if you want us to end your hopes.
That's what I'm saying. That's a win. We already got our
That's a
first win
win?
of the season.
Oh,
That's
hey,
crazy.
hey, I'm honestly, I'll put a jersey on it. I'll put a jersey on it. I'll put a jersey on it that the Lions beat the Jets this year.
Listen, man, what jersey do you want? I'll get you a Jared Goff jersey if they win.
A Jared Goff?
That's a rental. That's a rental, bro. You had to get him a.
No, but I will say though, I watched some of your videos about the Jets, and after what you just said, I'm kind of a little bit of a believer in what you're saying with the actual division. I really,
hunt?
huh? What'd you say? Day?
In the hunt? Like
no, not in the hunt. I'm just saying, like in division in general. Like I'm not that big.
In the division.
I'm not that big of a believer in the Dolphins. Not that big a believer in the New England Patriots. And Zach Wilson had some games last season. So, and Elijah Moore did step up. Like I see what you're saying. Because at first I was listening to it, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" But I was like, "Yeah, no, I get it. No, I get it."
Yeah, I mean, and I guess like this is a question for me. Like, in terms of like the draft, you saying like pair another receiver with Elijah Moore. You also signed Braxton Berrios back, which was a good sign, a good returner for you guys, and also is a good slot as well. In terms of the draft, and if you think y'all are targeting receivers, which receiver? Because this draft is loaded with them, and with all different sizes and abilities and everything. What receiver would you like to pair with those 3 receivers?
My number one guy is Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson, from all the receivers I've watched, he's the one that's shown me the complete package. And I've watched Chris Olave, I've watched Treylon Burks, I've watched Christian Watson, I've watched Drake Glendon, Jameson Williams. I might be missing a guy. But Garrett Wilson,
Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I watched him too. Garrett Wilson's ability after the catch is amazing. He bounces off of tacklers. He reminds me a lot of Debo, even though he has a slight frame. And I don't think he's going to be a contested catch receiver in the NFL. That's not his game. But his route running is very fluid. It looks herky-jerky. He gets really wide on his routes. But that causes a lot of deception for defensive backs. And I think that's the main reason why he's open so much. I think he's just an insane athlete. And
his body control is wild.
I think he's a number 1 receiver. And I would love him on the Jets.
For sure.
He tested a lot faster than I thought he would. To be honest,
that was big for him.
I didn't think he was. I knew he was like athletic and could jump, but I didn't know he was that athletic. So since you brought up receivers, and obviously I kind of called on you here to talk some draft stuff, is Garrett Wilson your number one, or is he number one for the Jets?
He's my number one receiver in the draft.
Is your number one receiver in the draft? Okay, I think that's there's not like obviously a Jamar Chase of this class or anything like that, but I personally have Drake London as my one, but probably for different reasons. I think that Garrett Wilson will come onto a team and be the most effective immediately of like anyone in this draft class. I think he's like the most NFL ready receiver of the bunch. I think my comp for him was like Devontae Adams, route running, obviously really athletic, but not hyper athletic. And then pretty good after the catch, maybe not the best, but I had Drake London one, mostly for like a ceiling argument, just because of like what he could be. But I could understand why a team would like a guy like a Garrett Wilson over him.
Drake London scares me. I have him in my top 5 receivers, but he does scare me. First of all, he just got injured, but I don't think that ankle injury is that big of a deal.
Yeah.
He is a 50-50 ball receiver. He's an okay route runner. He's not the best route runner. He's slow. If he would have tested at the combine, he would have ran like a 4.6. He's not fast.
You think he's that slow? I don't think he's that slow. I think he's just tall. I think he's deceiving.
Pretty slow because in the film that I've seen, whenever he got the ball after the catch, you kind of saw a lot of defenders catch up to him, and he wasn't able to explode past defenders. I think also, I will say I like his physicality a lot. I think when he has the ball in his hands, it's not easy to bring him down because he is 6'4". He uses his stiff arm very well. But I'm not sold on him as a route runner. I'm not sold on his ability too much after the catch. And I don't know how he's going to fare against corners on these 50-50 balls in the NFL because he is 6'4", 218. And, slight frame. It's Drake London to me reminds me a lot of Michael Pittman Jr. And Michael Pittman Jr. is a fine receiver. Like any team would be happy to have Michael Pittman Jr. But he's that's my ceiling for him is Michael Pittman Jr.
I comped
both USC products.
Yeah. I comped Drake to Mike Evans, but for different reasons. Because Mike Evans, like if you watch him play, he gets it done. And especially coming out, like he improved so much from when he came. Because when he came out of A&M, he was almost like a tight end. Like I swear, he almost like seemed like a tight end. And but he got really good at applying his speed in the right areas to be a really good deep threat, as opposed to being very naturally a really fast person. And I think that, given that he's as tall and as big he is, I think that he moves fairly well. But I can understand like the concern, especially because it was like a 1-year thing. It wasn't like he was doing it for like 3-4 years, like a guy like Garrett was. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he like went later than maybe what people are projecting now. I think I don't want to say falling, but
where is he at in his recovery? Because I know he didn't test at the combine. Where is he? I guess timetable-wise.
I don't know where he's at, but this injury wasn't serious. It was an ankle injury.
Yeah.
It wasn't like an ACL. That would really worry me. It was an ankle injury, but I think this crop of receivers, they all bring something a little bit different. I think Garrett Wilson is the most complete out of the bunch. Jameson Williams, to me, wowed me. Like, he wowed me.
Yeah.
He plays with a jetpack on his back. And every single game that I've saw from him, he took the top off the defense. He was always getting past the defense. Whenever he had the ball on his hands, a defensive back or a defender could be 10 yards in front of him, and he would just jet past him and blow past him. And his speed pops off the screen. And I think he's going to be an excellent deep threat in the NFL. Treylon Burks, to me, is a really good yak guy. He's a big body receiver. I don't think he has the hands Drake London has, but he is one of those guys that I kind of look like. He's like an A.J. Brown in the mold of receivers. He can be that yak guy. He can be a 50-50 ball, 50-50 catch guy. Chris Olave, to me, I'm a little low on just because of his slight frame. I feel like one big hit in the NFL might knock him out a couple weeks. But Chris Olave is a good route runner. He's a very technical route runner. He just struggles against press, against man-to-man coverage, because he uses his speed a lot of the time to try to get past that. And Jahan Dotson, to me, is a deep threat. I think he'll be a deep threat. I'm not the biggest Jahan Dotson fan, but I can see where people like him because he does have some nice speed.
So this is why I like talking like prospects in film, because people can differ so much on how they feel about like where someone can go. Because I'm honestly not a big fan of Jameson Williams. I'd say relative.
Really?
I'd say probably relative to like the community. I think that he is. So I gave Jameson a 2nd round grade, and that's not bad. That's not a bad player. But a 2nd round grade, like in like a tier with like. So all right. Definitively, I have ahead of him Drake London, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Treylon Burks, and George Pickens. Those 5 I have ahead of him.
George?
George is a dog.
Okay, I get it.
George is a dog.
I get it. I know. But that tells me you are going off of potential. That ain't even saying like what. Like,
oh no, I think no part the George for sure. George Pickens is for sure off potential, but George is I don't watch college football and I just watch film like postseason. And I remember I messaged you guys in the chat. I was like, I forgot what I asked you guys. I was like, where's all the games of George Pickens? Because he is a dog, and he got hurt that year that I was watching. Yep. I was like, because he is good. I've never heard of him because he was hurt for the most part that year.
He got hurt, I think, the beginning of 2021, and then he came back for obviously the semis to play.
I know how you go about your evaluations now. You like big body receivers.
I love X's. I love an X.
You love big body. Like you just told me, I'm surprised you didn't have Christian Watson in the 1st round, based on you liking size so much.
Right.
I gave him like a 2nd, 3rd round grade. So my
the
grade
40 he ran too.
I gave him a 2nd, 3rd round grade. Like it's part of it's like competition. He put up like 800 yards this year, which is solid. Like 18 yards per catch. Like that's a good player, obviously. Just I don't have a ton of film on him, but then two, like I mean it's D1 AA. Obviously, you're playing like North Dakota State and stuff like that. My gripe with Jameson is just that I feel like he's just a really good athlete that plays receiver, and sometimes that's enough. I don't feel like he's better receivers than some of these guys. Like honestly, I feel like Mechie is a better receiver than him. He's just not as athletic, in my opinion. Like genuinely, I think that Jameson just. I feel like for as fast as he is, he doesn't apply it like some guys that are fast in the NFL, that are successful with their speed in the NFL do. So you have guys that are fast, like Mecole Hardman. He's fast, but he doesn't apply his speed well to get open, like with the quick burst or like leveraging the the defender to like use it to get open. You had guys like who was the receiver that played for the Patriots and then played for the Colts? I can't forget. Super fast.
Philip Dorsett.
Philip Dorsett, like guys like that. Like you have all these fast guys that come into the league that, they have a role, but they don't like apply their speed. And that's how I somewhat felt about Jameson. I think he's going to be a very good like NFL. I think he's going to be a good NFL player. I don't know if like I'm going to get like 1,100, 1,200 yard seasons out of him. That's not really what I'm expecting.
The thing is, I before his injury, because I mean, he tore his. The reason why I would think you would put him down that low is because of the injury, not because of his play. Because throughout the season, I mean, like Jameson.
He was dying.
Jameson Williams film.
Yeah, but I can say that about Ruggs. I can say that about Jerry. I can say that about a lot of these guys. Like,
hold on. We gotta say something right now. For one, I think Jameson Williams' film is worthy of a top 5 receiver in his class. Second, Henry Ruggs wasn't bad. His second year, he was.
I would take Jameson
Henry
over
Ruggs.
Henry.
His second year was having a breakout season until that unfortunate accident happened. But he was on pace for 1,000 yards that year. Well, this past season, he was on pace for 1,000 yards.
It's funny that Dre say this because he always on this Tyreek Hill band
because Tyreek Hill is elite at how he applies his speed. Elite. He's one of the best. So look at a guy like Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson is fast, right? But he was elite in how he applied his speed to get open. He wasn't like a 4.2 guy. Like Deshaun was fast, but he wasn't like a 4.2 guy. But he was always looked much faster on the field and effectively getting open more than people that are faster than him. Like that. Like it's not like just about that in itself. Because like a guy like Calvin Austin, like I have Calvin Austin in my opinion. Everyone's like hype on him because he ran a 4.3. Like I don't. Calvin Austin is a UDFA to me. He's a UDFA to me. Like he's not like an NFL player, and I'm not like trying to compare, but like it's like not just speed. It's how it's applied within the scape that is like football. And obviously like Jameson is like going to be a good player. I just would rather take some of these guys like if I'm like starting a team, I'd much rather have some of these like X's. Like I think like I like Drake London. I like Treylon Burks. I think that Treylon Burks is like AJ Brown. Like you said, that was my comp for him. AJ Brown, like amazing yak ability. Obviously, maybe not to the extent that Jameson Williams is, but he gives you like the plus of that. You know, I can throw him the corner ball. I can do all these things. I mean, Treylon Burks was getting in at running back. Like that shows how good of like an athlete he is. Or like a guy like George Pickens, who we know like what he can do. Granted, like that was a little bit more of a projection, but like we've seen what he can do to like other top teams too.
I'm gonna say this: the Georgia Bulldogs are very thankful. I know Kirby Smart was checking on James, asked Nick Saban about Jameson Williams, but he probably was thanking God that he wasn't in the game.
Oh, for sure.
He lit them up in that SEC championship game. And when he went down, that offense, and Mechie got hurt too. But I feel like Mechie dropped off from definitely from his freshman year. I believe his freshman year was his best season. That he had, because he had a lot of he had a lot of potential there, but I think Jameson was definitely the driving force behind the offense. And when he left Ohio State, I was like, no, like I was like, because I'm an Ohio State fan, but I was just like, no, like I wanted him to break out because I seen him when it was Ohio State versus Alabama that it got beat down. I seen him. I was like, bro, this dude is fast. If we can get him in the offense next year, like it's gonna be crazy. And then when he left Ohio State to Alabama, I was like, he about to go crazy. But I definitely believe this season. I know everybody talking about Bryce and everything, but I mean, like we seen like when he lost Jameson and when he lost Mechie, it kind of went all downhill after that. So
I'm not a big Bryce fan.
I don't know about that Jameson take about him having a second to third round grade.
I gave him a second. I gave him a second round grade. I gave Watson a second to third. But obviously we have a lot some other positions that we want to get to. So maybe just to wrap up receivers, Joel, if you could just give us your 5-1 one more time for your receivers in this coming draft.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm just gonna go 1 to 5 because I remember that order better.
Yeah.
Number 1 is Garrett Wilson. Number 2 is Treylon Burks. Just his physical attributes, I kind of had to put him at 2. Number 3 is Jameson Williams, and you're right. He might not ever be that X, but when I saw him play, he reminded me a lot of Robbie Anderson. And I think he's a more fluid athlete. I think he's a better athlete than Robbie, and he's a better route runner than Robbie. But I think that's like kind of his role, being a deep threat in the NFL who can probably expand his game more. And Robbie was a 1K receiver as soon as he went to Carolina, so I think that's a pretty good comp. Mm-hmm. Number 4
I like that comp.
Is Christian Watson. I think the athlete that he is, he's 6'4". He runs a 4.3, which is insane. And people might talk about the production he had in college. I don't look at it too much because North Dakota State's offense is very run-oriented. It's run-centric. I mean, I was watching Christian Watson film yesterday. It was 40 minutes long. Maybe for about 6-7 plays, Christian Watson actually got targeted because the entire film was just runs. There was just runs the entire time. And I think you can use Christian Watson in different ways. He took a jet sweep 60 yards to the house. He's one of the better deep threats. He does have inconsistent hands. He has concentration drops. But I think he's a better athlete than Drake London, even though Drake London has better hands. Drake London, to me, is 5. But that's my top 5. And then after that, I think I'd probably have Chris Olave over Jahan Dotson at 6, and then Jahan Dotson to me at 7. I haven't scouted all these receivers like George Pickens. I've watched very briefly, but I haven't. Those are like the 7 I've scouted so far, and that's where I rank them.
Mm-hmm. No, I think like I said, this class is like you can pick out like those roles that you need within your team.
Store, man.
Yeah, you can definitely find guys to like fill in to get those number 2. Maybe you need a Z guy. Like there's a lot of those in this draft. There's, like if you need an X, you have the Drake Londons, the Traylon Burks, and I know we've been talking about like I started watching some Christian Watson today, and like. And I'm not trying to like disparage Jameson, obviously, but like he glides, like you can see his speed, like even when they're just running the ball like 30 times that game, like I can see as soon as he come off the line, like how it's just different. Like obviously like there's football speed and then there's track speed, and you can tell like he is really football fast. I'm excited to see him.
Yeah, he has very long strides, but I don't know. I don't know how you can look at Jameson and not think he's super fast.
It's
not that I think he's. It's not. I think he's slow. It's just that I wish.
It's not quantifiable. What you saying?
He just doesn't. He just doesn't apply it like for someone that's like he is a speedster. He's not a route runner. He's not an he's not gonna take it off the top of your head on a not like on like a comeback. No, like he'll take it off the top, but he's not like like a comeback back shoulder guy, like something like that. It's like more so like his role is to like take the top off your defense and catch crosses and take them 50 yards up the sideline. And that's a very valuable role. And like having big plays in like the NFL, like don't get me wrong. And I think he'll do good at that. It's just that I don't see him as like, I don't know, like a guy like a Tyreek, a Waddle, like those types of guys who I think will get used like 10 plays a game to catch like screens and cross and downfield and like do it all. But go ahead, Tay.
One last thing. I think it was a game against Mississippi State, and I'm trying to remember the exact play it was, but I think it was either like a 12 to 15 yard dig or it was like a 12 to 15 yard curl. And as soon as he broke and caught it, he took it home. So like that whole deep, like he can run the intermediate routes too and get those yaks too. So it's not. I think you're underrating his route running just a little bit, because I feel like he still has a lot of room to grow in route running. So does every rookie receiver coming in. But I feel like you're underrating his route running to an ability because of the deep threat and the speed that everybody talks about. I feel like he's a good route runner, not an elite level route runner yet. But I think you're just you're underselling it just a little bit.
Before the injury, he was definitely number 2 off the board, was he not?
Yeah, he was. I mean, just from what I've seen with Jameson, I think he's the only receiver in this draft where I feel like has another gear. Like whenever he has the ball in his hands, he's running, and then I just feel like he just taps into that gear and he goes turbo, and nobody can catch him. And to me, that's what amazed me the most. I don't think he's the most polished route runner, but when you got that speed, you don't really have to be.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys are like summarizing my opinions pretty well. Like, and maybe it doesn't deserve a second round grade. I think maybe I'm like being like hypercritical, but I think like you guys are saying it without saying it, and that like he's not the most NFL. He's not the best receiver. He's a very good athlete that plays receiver, and it is almost like a projection with him even, because like we see those guys consistently produce very successful careers in college. It's how does it translate to the NFL? But like if he ended up being the best of the class, like I wouldn't be surprised.
So what makes you higher on Olave than Williams?
I think it's more one because I think Olave could have came out the year before and been a first-round receiver.
I think he should have.
Yeah, I think I said that before. I was like, I don't know why he isn't coming out, because now I think it was when Garrett Wilson was a sophomore that year, and I was like, he's not going to be the best receiver on his team next year. Like he's going to get overdrafted. So I think part of it is just like he's obviously has the production and a very good division. Not saying that Jameson doesn't. He's playing in the SEC, but he's done it for a long time. I think that he just has a knack for finding space downfield, like as a receiver. Like there's a certain like level of awareness that I think that he has that he couples with his speed. And then also like and obviously you can value this for what you want. I don't knock guys for not being good blockers as receivers, but if you are part of me, it tells me something about you, and he blocks his ass off all the time, and that I think tells me about something how hard he plays, no matter what down it is, no matter what the situation of the game is. I didn't see that out of Jameson. So if I'm splitting hairs between guys I think are elite, those are the things that I'm gonna start to do.
Jameson did play gunner and got ejected for just messing somebody up in the Auburn game. I just want to let you know that. Nick Saban don't play that. He like Ohio State. They play the best people on special teams.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who was the last receiver class? I'm trying to think. Who were the guys that went the first last year?
Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith.
Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith.
I'm forgetting the other guys.
So
I think those three.
So if you inserted those three into this class, where would you put them in your ranks? Coming out.
Jamar is one.
Would you?
I mean, honestly, Devontae is one in this class.
Yeah.
Who is?
Devontae Smith. He's one in this class. In my opinion.
Over Jamar Chase?
No.
No, over this class.
Oh, you mean individually put them all in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they put
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's a very underrated. There's a lot of depth in this class because even when you get past those first five guys, whether you like Jahan Dotson or not, I think Jahan's the best slot in the class, but I don't think he's much more than that. But if you want a slot, I think he's really good at that. But then you have guys like Christian Watson, Alec Pierce. I started watching him today, and he's like Christian Watson. He just glides like a gazelle.
I didn't know he was that
weird.
fast.
Yeah, I was watching him. I was like, oh shit, he moves. But no, that's cool. But now we're gonna get into the guys that cover them, and we're gonna get into the corners. So we're gonna hop across the line of scrimmage into the DBs and right now more importantly the corners.
It's Tay.
So yeah, Tay. I don't know who is your. You said you have Sauce 1. Who is your number 2, Tay?
2.
Gotta be Stingley.
2 would probably.
McDuffie.
Is
Isn't McDuffie nice?
Yeah, I haven't gotten to a lot of McDuffie.
I heard he nice.
The guy that I looked at the guys I looked at. I looked at Sauce. I looked at Derek. I looked at Roger McCrary. I looked at the guy from Baylor. I looked at Kobe. I haven't gotten to the Washington guys yet, and I
Andrew
know
Booth?
they're kind of what's
Andrew Booth.
Andrew Booth, yeah. Andrew Booth is a very good corner. I always pick that one play where he's just soaring in the air. I don't know if it was this year or the year before where he's just gliding there for 3 seconds. That was crazy. So I would have, I don't know, man. After those two, after Sauce and Derek, I think you can the top 5. I think you could, I guess, shape it up anyway. It's whatever you want.
Did Derek go to the combine?
You want to.
He interviewed. He didn't do anything.
Why didn't he do anything?
He didn't test.
Is he hurt?
Because he had a Liz Frank.
I don't know what that
Liz
is.
Frank.
But
I feel
it's like a metatarsal injury or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like with the corners, after Sauce and Derek, it's whatever you want. Do you want a big tall guy that can run fast? Do you want a guy that just plays zone? Because everybody in the NFL, let's be honest, everybody not playing man-to-man every play. It's pretty much impossible to play man-to-man in, for the majority of the game in defense. Everybody's playing some type of zone. Jalen Ramsey plays a zone. Darius Slay plays some type of zone. All of these big-name corners, everybody, it's not that true, I'm going to play man-to-man every down and travel with you every down because the offenses are too good to do that. They moving around. They're moving around receivers. It's hard to go across one side of the field and stay with them on the next. So I think after those two, after Sauce and Derek, it's just whatever you want. I got to dive into those Washington guys because I know a lot of mocks.
That's why I like that McDuffie dude because he came from he went to Washington and that's where homeboy from Arizona, Byron Murphy is. I know they play a lot of zone. They play a lot of zone, and he real good at it.
Elijah Molden came from Washington too.
It's
they got good zone coverage out of Washington.
It's kind of like DBU.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Trent Mcduffie. I take
low-key DBU.
I take Trent probably before what's his face from LSU Because Derek ain't played in damn near 2 years, ain't it? Ain't been since he was a freshman.
Stingley was so fluid though. Like, I don't know.
That first year is just.
That first
Joel,
year,
where are you at with Stingley? Where are you at with Derek?
I think Derek Stingley is good. I think he has potential. He's just very inconsistent. From what I watched, I think he's an okay tackler. He actually impressed me a little bit more with his tackling than he did his coverage. I think he's good. His best trait is being good at press, man-to-man, being in that type of coverage. I don't know how good he is situationally, awareness, being in zone. I feel like too many times I saw receivers get into his zone and him not really know where to go, not communicate that well. So Derek Stingley, to me, I think is a boom or bust type of prospect. I think he's either going to be really good or he's not going to be that good.
Really
bad. So Derek Stingley, I think, is a bit of a risk. And just from watching some of the cornerback prospects today, Sauce was good. I think he's probably the best press man-to-man cover guy in this draft, even though he's very physical. And I think sometimes he does tend to hold receivers when he feels like they're getting away from him a bit. And in the NFL, that probably is a holding. So I don't know how that's going to translate. I don't think his technique is as fluid as some other guys. I think Trent McDuffie has better technique than Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner relies a lot on his 6'3" frame. Trent McDuffie, to me, when I watched him, I was thoroughly impressed. The motor he plays with, the energy he plays with, he's, I think, one of the best tacklers at corner. Like you mentioned, it's a cover 3 scheme in Washington, and he's very good in cover 3, and he's always in place, in position. Because he's 5'11", blockers can push him around a bit. I think the best tackler at corner is probably Andrew Booth, but the problem with Andrew Booth is that he plays off coverage a lot, so I don't know where his man press skills are. But Trent McDuffie, to me, has really wowed me, and I think he's a guy that a lot of teams are looking at his motor and his energy, and he might go higher than expected.
Yeah,
I gotta dive into him.
I'm in the same spot with you for Derek. I think he's boomer bust because we saw this happen with Greedy Williams, like that when he came out during his year, like he was like the shoe-in top 10 pick. People, I remember the Lions, we were gonna pick early, and everyone's like, yeah, it's gonna be Greedy Williams, it's gonna be Greedy Williams. And then that year came around, and he started dropping to the second. Everyone's like, why is no one drafting Greedy Williams? And it's like, I mean, we see now like he's not a bad player, but he's not what he was talked up to be. And I think we're in a similar spot with Derek, and I agree with you on the awareness aspect. When I was watching Derek Stingley, I don't know if you guys have ever played flag football, but in a lot of flag football leagues, you can't like touch the receivers. And I felt like when he wasn't able to like get that press man, he was trying to like give these like one-way goes and stuff like that, and was like constantly like losing contact with them, and like didn't have the awareness. He was like letting them separate. He had like bad eyes, so he'd like start to like maybe touch the receiver and then like lose the receiver, look back at the quarterback. And then once you lose contact with the receiver, like, and you're looking at the quarterback and he's behind you, it's like, you don't know where he is behind you at. And I felt like he was terrible at that. So, and like, as a result, like I put him at 4th, and part of that is because of the boom bust nature of his ability. Like if he's the one that was covering Jamar Chase in practice, like, and released his film, like, then maybe he's the best corner in the class. But
can't be released
if he's the one that second year was rough. The third year he kind of like came back a little bit, but that second year was rough in my opinion.
The Jets gonna be the one to draft him too.
No, we're
definitely not. If Sauce is off the board, have fun.
I think we're going with Trent McDuffie at 10.
I don't know. Not if he's still there. I don't think.
Derek Stingley. I don't think we're gonna get him.
I like because you guys run that like San Francisco. I mean, like it's based off the Seattle scheme. Yeah. Like that's what started it, obviously. But yeah, that cover 3, that bit. So yeah, both of those Washington corners are definitely good. Obviously, I think McDuffie's the better one of the two. They obviously had him like to the field a lot more if they could, and it seemed like he had more responsibility between him. But Kyler Gordon's also a good player.
What's the other Cincinnati corner? Is that Kobe?
Kobe,
right?
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant.
They had dual lockdown. Is he the same type of player as Sauce, just lockdown?
No. I was the way he was like talked up, like because he did the whole Kobe thing and changed his number to 8 for the playoff.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, he about to go
that's
crazy.
That's how I heard about him.
I thought he was better than Sauce. I was like, hold on,
that's what we were talking about. Like they were saying Sauce not even the number 1. I was like, what?
Yeah, I think he's a 3rd, 4th round corner, and I think maybe like I might be sandbagging these grades a little bit because I think like most guys inevitably don't live up to the grade that they're drafted. Obviously, like most draft players don't work out. Like it's just the nature. There's 200 some guys picked. I gave him like a 3rd, 4th round grade, and I think that he's like a good I like him as my cornerback 3. Like he might be able to come in if someone gets hurt and come play for you and start a few weeks. He's not a lockdown 1. He's just good. His physical abilities don't really pop out at you. So like if he's not super physical and he's not super fast, so it's like maybe he can be coached up to like play in the slot or something like that. But he just doesn't like pop off the screen to me really.
Did Okudah pop off the screen for you?
Hey, chill out.
I actually wasn't even evaluating film when they were drafted Okudah, so I'll be honest. I was
lit. I thought he was gonna be cold as hell, to be honest.
Nah, Okudah
I don't think
did pop. He just had the injuries, man.
I don't think it's like fair. Like we all sit here in Detroit and say Matt Patricia is one of the worst coaches ever, and then say why were you bad with one of the worst coaches ever? Like the two can't be the same. Like you have to at least give him a fair shot. And then this is before everyone thought of Debo as a top 5 to 10 receiver in the league, and he has a decent game against Debo and gets cooked for that one like big play, and everyone's like, look, you're getting beat by Debo week 1, and then we saw what Debo ended up being this year, and then he tore his Achilles. Like, that's a fucking terrible. Like, I mean, I remember his rookie year. Matt Patricia had him manned up against like Devontae Adams and shit, and
that was
it was like brutal, bro.
It was brutal.
He's like, man,
30 on, no swag. I'm like, oh, he's shaking in his boots right now, man. That's Devontae Adams. I'm like, no.
Do you have like maybe obviously you said that you think you guys are going to get McDuffie. Is there anyone that you just like? Maybe they aren't your favorite, like your number 1, but like that when you watch film on them, you're like, I really like watching this guy.
A player like any position or just corner?
Corner, I guess, more specifically.
Well, I've just watched a couple guys. I think Andrew Booth is very physical. He's a very good tackler. There's many times where I've seen him come from 20 yards away and make a tackle on a wide receiver screen. He is very physical, but the off coverage stuff kind of scares me.
Bro, he be getting cooked in my Madden league, bro. Yeah. I drafted him in my Madden league, bro. He is garbage. I'm sorry, being Madden, but bro,
I actually had him in my Madden league too. Believe it or not,
bro.
I feel like just his off coverage. I'm not sure how good he is in man to man. But my guy is Trent McDuffie. I'm really a big fan of his stuff. Okay. I uploaded a clip on Twitter of him making a sideline-to-sideline tackle, and it was amazing. Like the running back or the receiver who was taking a sweep was about 15 yards away, and he comes in and breaks in to tackle him. Like he has that type of breakaway.
He looks like a big dude too. Like I don't know what his measurables are, but he looks pretty big on.
He's 5'11".
Okay.
Yeah. He's 5'11", so he's not the biggest. Like the size thing,
but like thick wise.
Yeah.
I think he's like 195 or something like that. So he's not small for sure. I actually really like Andrew Booth. I gave him a 3rd round grade, so it's obviously I don't think very highly of him, but I was probably like the most entertained watching Andrew Booth play because he plays with so much energy and like physicality. But like you said, like I have in my notes here, I was like he might be a better like slot or like nickel corner or like safety type hybrid than he is an actual corner because of that, but I really enjoyed watching him.
Yeah, he's good. I think what you just said about like him being a safety could be pretty good because he has the instincts. It's just I don't know if he could keep up with the receivers on a consistent basis.
I'm hearing a lot of low grades out of these corners. Like how many of you guys actually think go first round? Just 2?
I think Sauce is going first. Stingley's going first. McDuffie's going first.
At least 4. Yeah, at least 4.
Yeah, at least 4.
Yeah, the line's probably at like 4.5.
Bro,
yeah.
every team each year reaches on the corner.
Yeah.
The Raiders picked Damon Arnett 2 years ago at 18.
That shit was wild.
Shooter.
Every team reaches on the corners because it's a passing league, and next to getting pass rushers, you need people that can cover. So everybody's trying to look for the next Jalen Ramsey, the next Richard Sherman. They're trying to look for that lockdown guy. So I mean, I say at least like 4. At least 4 go.
Branching off of what you said, does this draft feel like more like it just feel weird. This whole draft in general just doesn't feel, like, I know the number one guy, like it's like probably Aiden or
I don't like the top. I don't like the top
But this draft is like, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen.
I think we're gonna have sleepers. I think we're gonna get some studs out of this bitch.
But I really don't know I know what teams are looking for, but at the same time, it just feels a lot different than the last maybe 3 or 4 drafts. It just seems like it's a little bit off. It's very not top heavy, a lot of depth in certain positions, but yeah, it makes for an interesting first day. First day is gonna be weird.
I want to trade down so bad. Like if we could trade down with anyone, you don't want to trade down, Dre?
No one's coming up.
No, I know that. I know that. I'm not saying, but if someone did, like I would love that. But
you don't want Malik Willis?
Yeah. We get Malik. Hey, Joe.
I'm good.
I promise you.
Dad's been saying it. Dad's been saying it, but
I've been saying it for the last 3 months. I swear to God, before all this shit was happening.
You seen him throw that 60-yard pass.
Atlanta taking him at an 8.
In the chat, like,
Atlanta got to take him.
I'm like, I'm not Dan Campbell.
But Joe, what do you think about this though? Honestly, if the Lions pick him number 2 next year, I mean, what do you think a Lions team going to do this season? Honestly, 5-6 wins maybe.
I actually like where the Lions are heading. Believe it or not,
we're going 500.
I will say this: if you guys do take Malik Willis, I think it'll be a mistake. I think Malik Willis.
Okay, give me a reason.
We can trade up next year for one, Dabs.
Malik Willis has a lot of talent, but he has a lot of flaws too, and I don't think he can read a defense. I think he's going to really have to learn that in the NFL, and I don't know how long it's going to take him. I don't think he's as great of an athlete as he's brought out to be. Like, people call him his dual-threat quarterback, but he's not a Lamar Jackson-level athlete or Deshaun Watson-level athlete. Like he's a step below.
Not like
so his arm strength for
step
sure.
below Watson? Damn.
Yeah, like his arm strength.
I mean, Watson's athletic.
His arm strength for sure, it pops off the screen, but I feel like right now the Lions shouldn't be desperate for a quarterback. Like, there are better classes coming up. You guys still have to build a good roster. And Jared Goff is a good stopgap until you find your quarterback. You can ride out with Jared Goff for 2 more seasons until you find your quarterback.
You really can.
We can trade up for trade up for one next year too, though.
Next year,
we can trade up for
it's
one.
Better quarterbacks next year.
No telling if the Rams going to be as good as they are this year.
This is the problem. This is the problem that I have with being next year. So what you're saying is the Lions. The Lions right now. The Lions right now have a pretty. I wouldn't say good team. I wouldn't say average team. I say maybe a little bit below average. Either way, they're not getting a top 3 pick next year. I just believe that in my soul. Dan Campbell, I just don't think that's happening. So you're gonna pick between CJ and Bryce. Every other quarterback other than that, I will take Malik Willis over.
We'll trade up. We can trade
up.
You can
do a lot in the season. You can do a lot in the season.
None of these guys, and with the exception of maybe like for the most part, like the top 5 last year probably would have all been won this year. Like there might be like a little bit of gray area between like Malik's ceiling or like Matt Corral what he is, but like Zach, Trey, Justin, T-Law, like they're all probably all going before these guys. And we said this last year when you thought they should have probably taken Fields. And we said guys come out of the woodwork. Like these guys come out of the woodwork. We don't know who's going to be those guys next year. And even if they're like close to 500, like close to 500 could still mean you're in the low teens, like around 10. Yeah. You have 2 firsts next year. Like you have other picks.
We're going to trade up.
Like I don't think like because I said last year I was like wait till next year see if any of these guys come out and like you weren't a fan of that but now like you love Malik Willis so like who knows what
you love him because he's black.
You
want a black QB? That's what it is.
It's not that. It's not that. Let me tell you why.
I feel it, bro.
Let me just. I'm gonna do it in 2 seconds. Listen, it's not that. It's just the fact that after 1, if Aiden goes, I'm not that big of a fan of Thibodeau. I'm not. I mean, I guess that'd be the safe pick. Is to pick Thib. Okay. Not getting Kyle Hamilton. That's just a stretch. I'm not doing it again.
Please no.
I'm not fucking getting Okuda third pick and then doing Kyle Hamilton. Safety not that big of importance to me. Like, I guess I'll honestly be good if we take Neal. I know that I'm not the biggest first round offensive line pick guy, but I would pick Neal and secure that. Honestly, I just can't see myself picking Thib, bro. I can't see myself picking Thib.
I mean, right now the Lions I think are in a pretty good position because I think offensively you're not going to be bad. You have a really good offensive line. Taylor Decker, Jonah Jackson, Frank Ragnow when he's healthy. Like I love their offensive line and what they're building.
Panay stole Dre's girl.
Exactly.
Shut up, bro.
Amon-Ra St. Brown was very good last year, and now you bring in DJ Chark. So you have two reliable receivers with TJ Hawkinson and DeAndre Swift. It's going to be like a bottom 20 offense, but when you watch it, you're like, this is not that bad. It's just defensively, there's holes everywhere. You just release Trey Flowers. You have virtually nobody on the defensive line.
We had to say that money.
You got nobody at linebacker. You got no corners. You got no corners that you can rely on.
Our corner's not that bad.
Your best corner is like
we need some corners.
Your best corner is like Anurawari. That's your best corner.
My Nigerian brother.
So who would you? Let's just say, Joe, you were picking number 2. Aiden goes off the board. Who are you picking for the Lions?
You know what? I think I might go Ike. I might go Ike Ekwonu.
Okay.
I feel like you guys have Ike Ekwonu. I think you guys have tackle. Yeah. You guys have Panay and Taylor Decker. You have Ragnow and Jonah Jackson. I think one of the guard positions that Vitae is currently in right now, you can upgrade from Vitae. And Ekwonu played guard before. And he can play tackle if Taylor Decker's contract gets too expensive. You can move him, and now he can be the left tackle. Or Panay Sewell can be that, and now he goes to right. So I think building the offensive line is important right now.
What about that Georgia? Don't Georgia got that amazing tackle?
You're talking about Trayvon.
Jordan Davis.
D-tackle?
I think it's Jordan Davis.
Yeah, you're talking about Jordan
Jordan Davis.
What about him?
I'm not drafting a D-tackle.
No.
He did it once with Sue.
He's but Jordan Davis is only going to play like 40% of your snaps.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah.
I'm not drafting so we can. I think the draft starts. Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen this year. But what are your thoughts? Since we talked about corner, we've talked about receiver. Do you think that there is an argument at all for Kyle Hamilton to be the second or even the third pick of this draft?
There's an argument for it just because this draft isn't top heavy and a team has to make a pick regardless. But this draft isn't top heavy. That's why I think in this draft in particular, it's better to be in the teens because that's where I think the cream of the crop is. Like the Eagles are in perfect position. They have picks back to back, and I think they're going to select a bunch of impact players. But it's not top heavy. Aiden Hutchinson going 1. He's not even the prospect Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, or Chase Young were. He's not even the prospect Jadeveon Clowney was or Myles Garrett. So he's going to be probably a fine player, but he's not he's not the prospect these other dudes were at the edge rusher position. Ike Ekwonu, Evan Neal, they're not Rashawn Slater or Panay Sewell. So wherever Kyle Hamilton goes, you're going to feel kind of uncomfortable with it, not only because it might be high, but because of the positional value of a safety. I think Kyle Hamilton's a bit different, though, just because he can be good in coverage. He can be a nickel. You can have him play in the box. So he's a real athlete. And because of that, a team has to consider him highly just because of that. But maybe Kyle Hamilton slips just because of that positional value. But I wouldn't be shocked if he goes top 3.
Would you be upset if the Jets took him?
I wouldn't.
Not upset.
Jamal
I
Adams,
guess upset is a bad word to choose. Would you feel that there was more to be had if you drafted him?
To be honest, no. And I know a lot of Jets fans disagree because they don't want Kyle Hamilton because it gives them Jamal Adams flashbacks. Personally, for me, I loved when Jamal Adams was a New York Jet. Like Jamal Adams, every single Sunday, I would.
Those years he was going down.
Every single year, I would watch him run sideline to sideline, make big time hits. He would crack Gronkowski. when we would play the Patriots, like he was such an enforcer, and his energy was contagious. So I love Jamal Adams. It ended unfortunately, but Kyle Hamilton, as long as we get help for Zach at number 10, I'm fine with it. I feel like Jets fans right now want an edge rusher, even though Carl Lawson is coming back. So even though he's coming off an injury, he still might be a pretty good edge rusher when he comes back. I don't think we should reach for edge rusher if it's a Kayvon or George Karlaftis. People are very high on Kayvon. I'm a bit iffy on him just because of the personality aspects of him and what he didn't decide to do a lot of drills at the combine. That kind of, worries me about his motor. But my perfect draft for the Jets is Sauce Gardner at 4, and then at 10, Garrett Wilson. That's my perfect draft for the Jets.
Should we all give our perfect for our teams for the first round?
I mean, 3 of us are Detroit fans. If you want to give your
wait, and when I mentioned that Georgia D lineman, I meant Trayvon Walker, not the
Trayvon. That's what I was asking. Are you talking about Trayvon Walker?
Not the big dude, not the Jordan Davis dude. What's up with?
I mean, he was a part of a Georgia defense, so there was a lot of really good players around him, and he did his role well. So it's like more of a projection than it is like a sure thing. Like he tested out of he jumped out the gym. He was super fast. Like he was an all-star at the combine for sure. It's just, is it gonna come out on the football field? I mean, I'm sure he'll be a good player. It's just his stock really rose from being like maybe a back half of the first player to now being talked about in the top 5.
Well, in that case, I'd probably, if I can have my way, if Aiden's gone, I say take Kayvon. I mean, we need that disruptive pass rusher. And then at the end of that first round, I would love if that Nakobe Dean guy from Georgia fell to us. I think he's like really fast. I would love if he fell for us and just like commanded our linebacking core that we don't have right now.
Yeah, this is a good draft for linebacker. There's a lot of them out there. I love Dean. Lloyd is obviously really good. Just like sideline to sideline guy. Dean's I never realized how small he was though. He's
really?
5'11", I heard. 5'11", 220, I think, or something like that. It's damn near a safety, but he's fast as hell. I mean, so I guess it comes. Safety, the other Georgia linebacker's pretty good too, actually, but he's a little bit bigger.
What's up with the dude who just blew out his fucking knee? Ojabo. How far do you guys think he would fall? And would you be?
I think second round.
Late second round.
Yeah. A team that has a good roster together, like a Ravens, a Bills,
what happened with,
they can afford
Jalen Smith.
Because they come back pretty fast from that injury. Those, I think, who just came back from an Achilles really quick.
Don't use the exception as the rule. Don't use the exception as the rule.
Somebody just came back up.
Cam Akers.
Cam Akers.
Don't use the exception as the rule. Don't.
He can, bro. He was running on cortisone and the prayers of God, bro. It was. I don't know how he did.
Dabs, if you take Malik, what's your first pick? Who are you taking with the second one?
George Pickens, probably. Okay. It's gonna be bad because it's the defense. I know we need help.
That's a tough pick, bro.
This man just for one of the worst defenses just drafted two.
You can wait, bro.
The thing is, it's because I believe in certain people on our defense already. It's I feel like they haven't got there. Romeo. I feel like Romeo's gonna come back, be very good. I think that Cliff Harris is very, very good. We do need a linebacker really bad, very, very bad. So I might be with you with Dean. I just don't think Dean gonna fall to us. Our safeties, I like one of our safeties. We do need another safety, but I just still feel like I'm not that mad at the Kyle Hamilton pick because we do need a safety, but it's just positional value at 2. It just make my stomach hurt.
Y'all think we can wait till 3 for a wide receiver?
You can.
Yeah, hopefully that South Dakota State guy falls.
I think DJ Chark is can be a one type receiver. Maybe he's not the one on a championship-esque team, but I think he's a one type player. And obviously he did it with Gardner. I think that he could post 1,000 yards this year easy. I think he could do 1,108 touchdowns this year, to be honest. And part of it's the nature of being and the only one of the few guys in Detroit's offense. But Joel, I don't know if there's Sorry, let me know if you have to go. We've like kept you here for a while as well. So, but I don't know if there's any other safeties that like piqued your interest in your review. I feel like this class has like a lot of like, if you need a free like a cover 3 or a cover 1 type middle of the field guy, like you can get those. If you need like a strong, you can get those. Like I feel like there's very few of those do it all type guys. So I don't know if there's anyone else that kind of piqued your interest through this process.
I mean, I haven't started watching safeties yet. Kyle Hamilton I barely watched, but the next guy I'm gonna watch is Dax Hill. So really, so far I've really just watched the quarterbacks, receivers, some running backs, and then corners as well.
Yeah, I love Dax. I think I like Dax more than Kyle relative to like where they are being projected as players. I don't think like there's that big of a gap between them overall. Like obviously like if I had to pick like one of them, I'm taking Kyle. But Kyle is also talked about as a top 3 player, and Dax is talked about back half of the first, maybe second round guy. So I love Dax. I liked Lewis Seen a lot. And then Jaquan Brisker was like a nice. I'd probably take him in like the second. He was like, he didn't show me enough like, I feel like burst. Like in his play when he was like back at safety, like he can play in the box because he's big. He's like 200 pounds, probably like 6'1", 6'2". But I didn't really like his burst sometimes, and they played him at free a lot at Penn, so it's clearly like he has a proclivity to do it. It's just that. Sometimes, I don't know if he was like just lackadaisical, but he didn't seem like he was playing lazy. So I don't know. But then obviously, yeah, there's a lot of like guys at the back end of the draft. And we know like safeties, like you don't need to draft those guys early. We see a lot of them like be contributors. Tracy Walker was a 3rd round guy. I don't know what round Justin Simmons was drafted in, but like Marcus Williams, 2nd round guy. So we know that you don't have to take those guys super early. But before we get you out of here, because I know we've taken up a lot of your time, who is your like draft man crush? I know last year for me it was JOK, so Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, that went to Cleveland. Like I loved him to death. I don't know if there's anyone that like, even though you probably like the Jets might not get him, that like you're excited to like watch this upcoming year.
My draft crush is gonna be a sleeper name. It's Keontae Ingram from USC. He's a running back. He's probably gonna go like in the 4th, 5th round. He might go like in the 5th round. But watching Keontae Ingram on film, I thought he was really underrated.
That's awesome. I haven't gotten into running backs yet. Obviously, I'm sure people know Breece Hall, Kayvon, or why can't I think of Walker? What is K? Why can't I think of Walker's first name?
Kevin.
Kenneth Walker, yes. You just throwing out K. Say Kevin. I almost said Kayvon. Yeah, Kenneth Walker. Obviously not a super high-end running back class like we have had the last few years. But I think the league's realizing, the league's like seeing the shift for sure.
That's fucked up. One and done guys, man. Running backs. I can get them every year.
Running back by committee, man. That's what we got to do. It. Running back by committee.
Cool. All right, Joel. We won't take up any more of your time, man. We really appreciate you coming out. Hopefully, we'll stay in touch. I'll be in contact with you when the Lions beat the Jets for sure. This coming year.
You got to come back too.
Well, let me know when you want to play. Let me know when you want to play Madden. Get busted up.
If the Lions beat the Jets, I will stop being a Jets fan.
Oh my God!
Wow! Clip it!
All right, but man, thanks, man. I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun talking to you guys. I wish you guys continued growth and success in what you guys are doing. I love what you guys are doing, man.
You want to share your podcast for our listeners and.
People know him. People know him.
Yeah, we don't got that.
He can still.
I mean, for our listeners might not know him.
Pick a Side Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. That's where we really be at.
For sure. Check him out. Pick a Side. Joel, appreciate it, man.
Yes,
Have a good one.